It's me, it's Fast Eddie Fear. 5:47, got an hour and a dozen minutes until we get ourselves all the way up to lock. Here to discuss this evening's NBA basketball DFS action. Yesterday seemed to go extremely well, been a pretty good week overall, hoping to continue that trend today. Firing up the YouTube chat so that I can keep track of the messages in there. Should the people in our premium Slack chat run short on the questions, I'm all by myself, so even though it's not that massive a slate, wanted to add a few extra minutes here to talk about stuff as we get closer to lock. More people to help me keep an eye on the news, which when I'm by myself is appreciated as always. I was in our staff chat, so let me fire up our the premium basketball chat real quick. Those of you who are premium members, my rankings are in. So should you have any questions or comments, feel free to use them as a reference point for this evening's conversation. My mic is all fucked. Please tell me you're kidding. I was stuttering a little bit, but how are we sounding? I'm looking for comments on how we're sounding here. Got a little extra time, so echoing. I'm trying to bring the mic closer. I already brought the mic up, actually. I was ahead of the game in that one. Small echo. Talk about the 6 p.m. game before lock. A little echo is what we're saying. That's interesting. Maybe it was on my end previously. Alright, well, let me turn down my volume because there's really very little I need to hear when I'm here alone. Good enough. I've turned it down. Hopefully that also reduces the echo. If it doesn't, we have a little tech session scheduled tomorrow to figure out what was going shaky between myself and Chris on some of the shows this week, so hopefully we figure it out. That's interesting. My last solo show didn't have the echo either, so something a little squirrely going on here. It's tolerable. Well, that's all I can aspire to in this life, is to be tolerable. Talk about the 6 p.m. game before it goes. Yeah, I didn't, again, did a Periscope for about an hour before and spent a lot of time on the main slate, so did not do any sort of deep dive, so to speak, into the Texas game between the Rockets and the Mavs. Obviously, you're not going to have Dennis Smith is out. Maxi Kleber is also out. So that gives you a little more interest in that Dallas side of the ball. But a couple teams that don't run very fast, I'd have a lot of interest in Doncic. Without Dennis Smith, that'd be the first place I'd probably start to look. Harden obviously is what he is, but other than Marquise Chris, which isn't terribly relevant, that team's pretty healthy, so not a ton to add there, and don't want to guess. So I will move on to the 7 p.m. slate, and let's go ahead and get started. Let me do my last bit of a news check here, make sure I'm not missing anything terribly relevant before we get going. Burks will get the start. Okay, see? That's a useful piece of information. Hassan Whiteside is out. That's a really useful piece of information. Sabonis is still a game time decision. Okay. Otherwise, we are all caught up. So, let's talk about, I'm actually going to get up on the top of this thing and start and discuss some of the values, some of the chalk, what represents good chalk to me, bad chalk to me. We'll get some new ownership coming in shortly, and obviously all of that news will change a number of things. But talking about some of the most owned guys on the slate, Trey Lyles is good chalk. Pretty sure he'll start, and they'll keep the rotations otherwise similar. Some small chance that they instead start Wancho down at the 4, which is actually his better position, and start, say, Beasley alongside Craig and Jamal Murray, but in that case, I still wouldn't be worried. He's going to play If he starts, probably 32 minutes if he comes off the bench. And again, the game has to stay close, although the line is pretty nice, and they are in Atlanta. If he comes off the bench, I'd probably reduce that projection to 27 or 28 minutes. But either way, he's just a phenomenal value at $3,500, $3,600. The matchup is obviously about as good as it gets. Yeah, so that's pretty exceptional chalk. Not a lot to add there. I like Alec Burks a lot too. He's going to get the start again. I have him at 37 minutes right now. Saw more than that last night. Could certainly see more than that again on a back-to-back, obviously. But again, at that price, in also an exceptional matchup against the Wizards, Alec Burks is still pretty good chalk. That's not where I'm looking to differentiate. The first chalky piece I'd be less inclined to eat the chalk on. That doesn't mean you have to play 100% Trey Lyles and Alec Burks, but they're both, on the face of them, extremely good plays. Alongside Bam Adebayo. Those three are plays I'm not terribly inclined to get away from. The first guy we have listed as chalk that I'm a little more interested in getting away from would be Kent Bazemore. He's still on the face of things and excellent play, especially on DraftKings. Obviously, $4,800 is too cheap for what we will probably get out of him. But even with the four guys they have out for this game, they're going to run everyone else on the roster probably. You're going to get either 10 or more likely 11 guys still playing for this Atlanta team. By nature of Kent Bazemore, he is himself not an incredibly consistent player. And the matchup with Denver is all these other guys we're talking about have ideal matchups with teams like Atlanta and Washington. Kent Bazemore, is dealing with Denver. Now, it is a Denver team that is missing Paul Millsap and missing Gary Harris, and that is going to reduce its defensive prowess pretty significantly. And by no means do I not like $4,800 Kent Bazemore, but he's the first of these guys where I can really see how it goes wrong, which is just he plays 25 minutes instead of 33 minutes, doesn't pick up a half dozen steals or whatever he had last game, doesn't shoot that well, and you get 23 fantasy points out of him. That doesn't shock me incredibly. So Bazemore probably the first quasi-chalky piece to get away from. The next is pretty surprisingly LeBron. There's nothing wrong with playing LeBron. And again, there is massive amounts of exceptional value on this slate. So it's natural to want to spend up for a guy who has the ceiling of LeBron James and the pretty safe floor of LeBron James. But this is about as bad of a spot as you're going to get for LeBron. I have him as my third highest projected player on the entire slate. I have him a hair under Karl Anthony Towns, and I have both of those guys a full 4 points under Nikola Jokic. Although Jokic, far, far less safe than LeBron. So yeah, play all the value and play LeBron in cash. I have him for 50.4 fantasy points. I'd be pretty sure that he gets you somewhere between 45 and 55, and if you look at his games against Memphis, that's about where he tends to come in. It is not a tremendous spot. We are on the back end of a back-to-back. There's just a number of ways in which you are a little more concerned about him putting up a ceiling on the road on that back-to-back. Like just all kinds of worry there. It's still LeBron James, and yes, he's LeBron James. So in any spot, he can randomly put up a 80 burger. But another guy who I'd be, if he ends up being 40% owned, I would be upset if I came in under that. You're going to have some exposure, and you're going to want some exposure. After that, chalky guy I'd get away from would probably be Trae Young. Again, going against Denver's is not ideal, although, again, they're missing some of their quantity defenders. The price is still high, can have a billion turnovers. He's not shooting that well. His true shooting is wretched. There's just a number of things that can go wrong there. On its face, yes, you expect him to continue to pick up some usage. Same thing as Bazemore. Since Taurean Prince went out, they have been picking up a lot more time. But compared to some of these other guys we're talking about, the minutes aren't as secure. The nature of the players are a little bit more frenetic than some of the other guys we like to look at. And additionally, it's just Trae Young who's, sort of struggling in his rookie year. I still like him. He projects very nicely for a guy who costs $6,700 on FanDuel, $6,000 on DK. But, again, we're talking among all these guys who are going to be 20% owned, 20+% owned. Those are the guys I'd be most inclined to get away from. So I wanted to give those guys each a brief mention at the top of the slate. Before moving into the game specifically, and we're close enough to 6, I'll go ahead and get into that. So Sacramento visiting the Pacers. Basically everyone on Sacramento is healthy, although Iman Shumpert is going to sit this game out for rest. That opens up a little space. Oladipo, of course, still out for the Pacers. Sabonis still sitting at a game-time decision last I saw. For the Kings, and again, I guess it's worth pointing out they are one of, I think it's 9 teams? 9 teams on a back-to-back tonight. The Nets, the Bulls, the Cavs, the Nuggets, the Pacers, the Lakers, the Grizzlies, the Heat, and the Kings all played last night. And that leads to various degrees of ridiculousness based on how bad your coach is or how not ideal for playing on a back-to-back your coach is for fantasy purposes, and how short-handed the teams are. Like the Cavs are on the back end of a back-to-back, but they're only dressing 8 guys or 9 guys who can, 10 guys actually, who get into the game. But again, we're not super worried about Channing Frye, Ante Zizic, Blossom Game, and a couple of the other guys picking up meaningful minutes. Not to mention they're all big, so the guards are going to have to put in some time here, obviously. But getting back on this game, again, not super worried. We haven't seen any real indication that we should be super worried about the Kings here. And Shumpert taking some time off again opens up a few more minutes. And this, like every game tonight, is a reasonably close game. I think it's 3 or 4 point line still. No game tonight yet at double digits. Again, pursuant to news, we'll see how that goes. The biggest issue here is this is, a bad fantasy matchup. The Pacers, I think, are allowing the fewest fantasy points per team in the league. They play pretty slowly. They're in the bottom 5 in pace, and their defense is pretty solid. So not a matchup in which you want to jump all over these Kings, who also are priced fairly equitably. They are like a lot of teams tonight in which their guys just don't point per dollar price nearly as well as guys on the Cavs, guys on the Hawks. Various players, guys on the Knicks even, guys on the Cavs. There's just, 4 teams where guys are just way too cheap, and these guys are priced about fair. So De'Aaron Fox had a monster last night. We liked him last night. I like him just plenty in tournaments tonight. No reason he can't hit a ceiling again, but 7,800, 7,200, he is a tournament pivot off Jamal Murray, really, is where he would land. Buddy Hield, again, obviously has an upside he can get to. Looked pretty good last night, but $6,300. I would generally prefer Tim Hardaway Jr. in just about any context. But Buddy Hield never not going to be in play in tournaments when he's getting the kind of minutes he is. Bjelica, again, Bagley is back. No reason to expect Bagley not to play again, and even in the games Bagley hasn't played, they've really handed out Bjelica's minutes to other guys. They're really keeping him at a 20-minute-a-night role. So maybe on FanDuel where it's droppable and he's just 4,100 for him on DK, he'd probably be like my 20th favorite guy at 4,100 or less. There's a lot of nice cheap options tonight, so probably not going there. Willie Cauley-Stein is fine. The DK price is pretty appealing. He'd still be my 6th or 7th favorite center, but I don't mind some exposure to him on DK on FanDuel. I mean, you really got to want it at that point. I'm a pretty big Enes Kanter fan tonight, so spending $7,000 on Willie Cauley-Stein, obviously going to be in play in tournaments, but not somewhere I'm really looking to go. Bogdan, we like a little bit more, should be getting a lot of time. And without Shumpert, you feel a little bit better about the minutes. I would prefer him to Hield. Again, you're $500 more on FanDuel, but $200 less on DraftKings. But Bogdan makes a fair amount of sense going there. And Bagley himself still in play, basically just on DK. If you're looking at FanDuel at that price, I'd much rather play Montrezl Harrell in a tournament. I'd much rather play Jaren Jackson Jr. in a tournament. Bagley at 6,800, I think, is a bridge too far on FanDuel. But at DK at 5,300, again, got a sort of unlucky game out of him last night where he shot extremely well and had only a rebound, an assist, a steal, and a block in 25 minutes. You'd expect, 5 more rebounds than that, among other things. Looking over at the Pacers, this is the opposite situation. They're obviously missing at least one key piece, that being Oladipo, and at least some chance that they will be missing Donatas Sabonis. Cavs will start Sexton, Burks, Osman, Thompson on Saturday. No word on a 5th starter yet. They can't get enough fun screwing Tristan Thompson there. Not screwing Tristan Thompson, screwing Larry Nance Jr., pardon me. But basically all the Cavs who are going to play are good, and even Nance, no matter whether they start him or not, has potential in tournaments. But again, like yesterday, the lack of usage is concerning, but we'll get to the Cavs in due time. Tyreek has just been bad. Like, we've seen 1 or 2 games where he looked like the Tyreek of old. He's still in play in tournaments, but he's way down the list of guys I want to play tonight when just looking at, all the Cavs again and all these other teams. There's just so many better options, but his ownership is going to continue to descend, and he's had a couple 35-point games this year and can bang out another one, but, I'd certainly run Bazemore over him. I'd eat the chalk in that situation. Again, this basically all comes down to you want Sabonis out. If Sabonis is not out and we get this news in time, Sabonis available to play? Somebody just said, which I presume means he will play. I am attempting to verify Sabonis available to play, because I haven't seen that. So let me attempt to confirm that. But that would be pretty important stuff. Sabonis available to play. Okay. So he's feeling better. We like the matchup for him a lot. This is actually, I believe, I want to say that, yeah, these two teams did play earlier this year, because I recall Sabonis was not that great in that one. I'm not randomly bag the game log there. Not that the game log is terribly important looking at a one-game sample, but it's something to look at. So Sabonis priced a little more nicely on FanDuel. The ownership is going to be Knight. Again, we're not sure he's 100%, but generally have to presume he is. And again, I like playing guys who are questionable and then come into play. Yeah, you had a down Sabonis game earlier this year. 24 minutes, 23 fantasy points. Meh. That doesn't mean a whole lot to me. It doesn't have much to do with the personnel or the coaches or anything, so I'd largely ignore that. But when they did play earlier this year, you got 35 out of Bogdan, 45 out of Collison, 42 out of Miles in only 31 minutes. And they did spend 7 minutes next to each other, being Turner and Sabonis. So you got 32 out of Turner, 24 out of Sabonis. Reek played 29 minutes and had 22 fantasy points. Thad wasn't that great. So again, Sabonis and I would rather play Triple J. I would rather play Montrezl Harrell, I think. But certainly in play in tournaments at this point, and the ownership will be nice. We like him a little more on FanDuel and DraftKings, but has been a real monster with Depot out. Sabonis being in makes everyone on the team a little less exciting. It takes Miles Turner from, he's almost out of play on FanDuel at this point. He's 8,000. That's a real number. Now, he's had a 45 and a 50-something recently. With Sabonis back in, he can still do, 20 and 10 with 6 blocks, but I'd be many, many lineups until Miles Turner made the line now. Same thing with Thad Young in the world of all the value opening up on those other teams. It's really hard for me to pay that price for him. I like Bojan. I would have liked Bojan a fair bit more if Domantas Sabonis was out. Bojan, again, good in the matchup earlier this year. Good generally since Oladipo being out. He would appear to be the most consistent overall winner in the Victor Oladipo isn't around sweepstakes on this team. Priced a little more advantageously on FanDuel, where he's only 5,200. Still don't mind some exposure to Bojan. The ownership wasn't going to be that high and will now be even more nominal with Sabonis back in. So I still like some exposure to Bojan in tournaments. And Darren Collison still not out of play. The ownership should have normalized and come back pretty low, and paying almost 7,000 for him will keep it down. But this, again, as we just demonstrated, a spot in which he can do fairly well. John Wall is in. Okay, so that screws up that game a little bit. We'll get there in a little bit. I'll keep moving so I can try to leave some more time for questions. I'll move off this game again. If you have any good questions, go ahead and fire them at me later. Denver and Atlanta. Yeah, this is a tremendous game, at least for Denver. So we'll talk about Denver real quick. Again, we have no Gary Harris now, and we have no Will Barton, obviously, for a while now, and there's no Paul Millsap. That opens up lots of time and lots of usage in a matchup with the Hawks, this being not incredibly different from the situation with the Wizards, playing them without John Wall not that long ago. And again, there were 7 players on the Wizards who were fantasy viable, and 6 of them ended up being good. And that's not an unreasonable approximation of what you're probably looking at here. So we'll start with talking about the 2 players you're sort of looking at. Who do I think starts for Cleveland? Clarkson? No, I think in that 5th spot. I would have thought Nance. Now that they are adding some fortitude, you could see Clarkson should be odd. You're really just devastating the bench at that point. That seems like the wrong decision. They might put Channing Frye out there. But I don't know, but we will find out before lock, so I'm not overly concerned. So Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic are the yin and the yang of this situation. Again, I have Jokic projected as my highest scoring player of the day. It's just as good of a matchup as you are going to get. Now you have Millsap out. This is a team that is overly susceptible to bigs. Most of their quality defenders do come in more on the guard position. You know, Bazemore now probably easily the best defender on the team. A couple of other young kids are halfway decent. With Millsap gone down too, there's just so much usage that, again, this reads not unlike Jimmy Butler and Ben Simmons, Sans, Joel Embiid. Again, Embiid carrying a lot more usage than, say, Paul Millsap. But, yeah, you would expect Jokic and or Murray to be very good here. I would rather play one than both, but I'm a little more amenable to the possibility that they both go off in this situation than it has been in previous spots. Yeah, I like them both. I probably prefer Murray points per dollar if it came down to that. But again, I have Murray projected for 44 and Jokic for close to 55. Yeah, so yeah, hard to imagine that goes real badly. Really no issue with any amount of exposure to that. So then we move into sort of the value conversation, which gets interesting in here. Trey Lyles is the cream of the crop. He simply should get a ton of minutes and is a very productive fantasy basketball player. I don't think it markedly changes the role of Mason Plumlee. I can envision scenarios in which, they are running out, let's say, Len and Collins a lot for Atlanta, and they decide to go double big, and you get some Mason Plumlee out there next to Jokic, and so Lyles gets somehow limited. But I think the predominant likelihood is he plays 30 minutes plus or minus 2, and in this matchup I would project him for like 31, 32 fantasy points, and that's really hard to get away from at 3.5. So good chalk in my opinion. Mason Plumlee has an upside. The FanDuel price clearly not encouraging at 5,400, but not out of play in tournaments. 4,100 on DK would come for me probably 4th on this team for value guys, 5th on this team after value guys if you count Wancho. But certainly not out of play on DK, where I believe he's still multi-position eligible. Wancho, these two teams did play once this year already. Wancho had a 40-burger. Now he shot like 80% from the field in that game, as I recall. But point being, if you're looking for a spot where a normally low usage, not super fantasy guy, Wancho, has an upside, this is certainly the spot. I am more inclined to play the other guys than play Wancho, just because of the ownership. But Wancho, Hernan Gomez at 5,000 or 4,300. Certainly not a bad play. Just priced very advantageously. I would probably project him for something like 32 fantasy points, 33. But again, there's other guys on this team I project for nearly that, and they don't cost 5,000 or 4,300. But still, at those prices, still way, way, way cheap. Very Bam Adebayo-y and being like, oh, the price came up. Still way too cheap in current situation. I would rather play Monty Morris than Malik Beasley. He's a slightly better basketball player. He's a slightly better fantasy basketball player. Both those guys come with a real floor. Point of fact, if you go back and look at the last time these two teams played, that was the game that they brought Jamal Murray off the bench, and Monty Morris started, and he played 30 minutes in that game, or 29, and had 15 fantasy points. So, yeah, it can fail. It did fail this year. That being said, also take the ownership discount. I think more people play Wancho, more people play Beasley, more people certainly play Lyles. More people play Jokic and Murray. So he's the 7th most owned guy on this team. And just generally a better basketball player, a better fantasy basketball player than Malik Beasley. If you look it up, Malik Beasley's like a .65 guy. He's not a productive player. Wancho's like .75. Morris is like .85, and getting him basically the better player at the discount. I do project him for a few less minutes. I think you could probably, I'll say 28. I'll throw as the over-under on Malik Beasley, and 24, 25 on Monty Morris. Yeah. But those are the suspects for Denver, and I like having an incredible amount of exposure to this game. If you don't have two, if you're playing one lineup and you don't have two Nuggets, certainly on DraftKings, you're probably doing something wrong. probably 2 on FanDuel. Also, again, we'll get back to it in questions. Atlanta, as I mentioned, not as ideal an environment now as opposed to when they played earlier this year. They lost by 50, I think was the number. I don't have it up in front of me, and my computer when I run all the game stuff gets running awfully slow. But yeah, they absolutely got their shit pushed in Denver. Traveling to Denver, obviously a difficult thing, as we know and has been for quite some time. But still, certainly some plays here. Sans, Torian Prince, we like. And while the matchup isn't ideal, it is fair to wonder how not ideal it is when you take out Gary Harrison, take out Paul Millsap, and put in more of guys like Monty Morris and Trey Lyles. The pace goes up, I feel safe in saying, and the defensive quality goes down. So the combination of those two things, and much lower ownership than their counterparts across the ball, should give us some interest in a number of guys here. We talked about Bazemore. I have no issue with Kent Bazemore in tournaments. If I'm building a lineup, there are guys I would rather play just because in this situation I'm looking for kind of chalky guys who could fail, where I can go with other guys who project similarly at a lower ownership. That's basically what we're doing here. Same story with Trae Young. Again, both guys are underpriced to the extent that they're almost cash playable. So they're not bad plays at all. Hopefully I've explained that thoroughly enough. Kevin Huerter is up to 4,700 on FanDuel. That's tough. 3,700 on DK. You know, I'd have 6 or 8 of him if I'm playing 150 lineups. John Collins, just fantasy beast. Getting Millsap out of there helps quite a bit. Keeps racking up double-doubles and likely continues to do so here. Again, price is expensive, but I'd want to have some exposure there. Dedmon still with forward eligibility at 4,200 on DK. That feels perfectly fine for me. I'd want some exposure to that. Bembry, again, is 5,500 on FanDuel. That's tough not to crack. 3,800 on DK. Certainly feel free to have a share or two of that. Don't think I'm going to play Len. Don't think I'm going to play Vince Carter. But all those guys, when you're still talking about they're missing a lot of guys, but most relevantly, there's no Torian Prince. That opens up minutes. There's no Jeremy Lin. That opens up minutes for all these guys on the wings we're talking about. And Spellman is relevant too. Miles Plumlee is also out. Alex Poitras is also out. And those guys do frequently chip in, their 7-11 minutes. So we're happy they're out. But the 3 guys that make this really relevant, make those plays still pretty solid, are Spellman, Lin, and Prince out. Again, the matchup not as good. Do I like Huerter or Bembry better in DK cash? I would actually like Huerter better in cash. I have him for probably a minute or two more, and I think he's a little more solid of a player. But in fairness, Bembry has been a much better fantasy producer this year. Again, if you look at the numbers, you're looking at almost fantasy point a minute for Bembry. And Huerter back towards 0.75. But I would still probably, I think you said FanDuel, I'd probably rely on Huerter there. Let's see. In your rankings, you have Cantor as an A value for Okay, I'm going to go back to that question. In your rankings, you have Cantor as an A value for cash and Thompson as a B value. Explain, please. I just felt for more minutes or anything that Thompson would be an A. Yeah, that's a perfectly good and fair question. It's sort of an opportunity cost situation, but that sounds like I just put it in incorrectly. Let me find my core notes, but I did a lot of this by paper earlier today. I certainly like Tristan Thompson quite a bit as a cash play, so maybe I put them in wrong, but I would have thought for cash, maybe we inverted them. I think it's for tournaments. I think if that's what I have them in as, I entered them wrong. For tournaments, I believe I have Enes Kanter as an A and Tristan Thompson as a B, barely. For cash, I would prefer Tristan Thompson. So either I misentered them or you're misreading them. But in either case, I would be more inclined towards Tristan Thompson in cash. He should play like some 38 minutes, and that's very safe. You're saving a fair bit of money on him, certainly on FanDuel if you go to Cantor, but I would rather play Tristan Thompson in cash. I just talked about Collins. Let's alright, so we spent enough time on this. We'll move on to another game. Please bring me back to it in questions if we don't. Let's do the Knicks and the Nets. So, I would be some 10 to 15 lineups in until I played someone on the Nets. There is just a real chance the coach absolutely fucks them. Kenny Atkinson will just occasionally, like every other back-to-back, just says screw everyone on the team. Now, someone usually finds a way to backdoor their way into some minutes, but you get that hole, and it happened last time when I gave this exact same warning, and nobody was good, and there's games where just nobody is good. Or because they screwed everyone's minutes, like I left Shabazz Napier in there as like a C or a B in tournaments, because if they screw everyone's minutes, well, he's good in 24 minutes, and all these other guys are actually hoping get significantly more, but they're already running a very broad rotation. The team is basically 100% healthy if you ignore Karis the Green, who is still not with the team. So I want to be clear before I talk about the Nets. I don't want to play any Nets. Some of them are playable in tournaments because if the game stays close and if the coach doesn't just reflexively fuck the entire team's minutes, some of these guys do have a very real upside, and I even like the spot for a couple of them. But I really love lots of guys' spots tonight who cost $3,500, $3,700, $3,900. I really don't know why I'm spending $5.5 on guys for the Nets, where it can go all kinds of sideways. That being said, if I'm playing the Nets, the three guys I would first defer towards would be D'Angelo Russell, especially on FanDuel. So shooting guard on FanDuel is $7,500 instead of $8,100. Has a very big upside. We've seen it repeatedly in all sorts of spots. Looked good last night. Looked good game before that. We liked D'Angelo Russell on FanDuel. That's fine if you want to run him in a tournament with the previous proviso. Jarrett Allen, again, I've mentioned previously, earlier on this scope, and basically every game he plays, we like him in matchups where he gets to sit around the basket. We actually have an object example with the Knicks. Yeah, they played the Knicks twice this year. The first game was pretty good for several guys on the Nets. It was an island game. The second game was on the back end of a back-to-back. Ended up being like a 20-point Knicks victory, I think, but everyone's minutes were dog shit. So many of these guys, including Jarrett Allen, were really, really good in the first game because they got their appropriate amount of minutes. And on the second game, Kenny is not really that interested in winning games, which is fair. He shouldn't be if he wants what's best for the franchise. Sort of screwed everybody. So Jarrett Allen, in the first game against Dennis Cannon this year, had some 35 fantasy points, and that's about what you would expect for him. We like him when he gets to play against guys who are right up close, like he did last night, for example, like he did previously against Dennis Cannon. It's a good matchup for him. 5,800 on DK. If you think he gets the 32 minutes, you should. I'd project him for well more than that in fantasy points. So Jarrett Allen would be his second guy, and then Spencer Dinwiddie would still deserve some consideration at a price around $6,000. But yeah, you gotta want it. We like the matchup with the Knicks, so I won't give them quite the hard pass. But I'm about as down on the Nets, and I think a lot of them hold ownership because this is one of the things historically I just have not seen people react to. They end up on the back end of a back-to-back, and in a decent matchup like this one, I think you get... I'm going to check our ownership projection right now on D'Angelo Russell, because he, I presume, will be the most popular of the Brooklyn Nets, and plus I get to update the ownership, which I want to see anyway. Ooh, that's a big number on him there. Let's see, Brooklyn. I was going to see probably get to double digits. We'll see if that's the case. This says D'Angelo. Oh, this is DraftKings, though, at 2%. Right. So, yeah, he's really expensive on DraftKings. Anyhow, my point being, this isn't the best example of that because most of these guys are priced up a fair bit now, and there's a million other really nicely priced guys on the slate. But, yeah. The Knicks, who are the only team on the front end of a back-to-back, they also play tomorrow. I will be back again all by myself. They are playing... so yeah, they're on the front end of the back-to-back, and I like actually several of these guys. More guys than I'm comfortable liking on the Knicks. I like Enes Kanter a lot. This is a tremendous spot for him. If you're not playing him, you're not playing him because you think he doesn't get minutes, either due to his recent trend down in minutes, or just general Fizdale fuckitude, or a blowout. All of which are possible. So I understand not going there, but that being said, points per dollar, he's the best center on the slate pretty significantly. If he plays 32 minutes, I'd project him for like 45 fantasy points, 46 fantasy points. I didn't actually point out this team, but it would be significant. Again, they played twice earlier this year. He was very good in both games. One game he started, one game he came off the bench. Got a fantasy point and a half a minute roughly combined between the two. That's a great spot. And again, the recent games, if we click on the old Enes Kanter game log here, we have, of those games, we have a blowout, we have another blowout, the Philly game. The Milwaukee game was one of the many times they closed with Giannis at the 5, so you can't run Enes Kanter out there and try to have him guard Giannis, although I'd pay real money to see Enes Kanter try to guard Giannis, but that wasn't going to work out. So nothing like that is going to happen here if you think this game stays reasonably close. And again, it's like a 4-point line, I think, at post time. So I like Enes the Menace here quite a bit, and the ownership is going to be very, very nice with a lot of people jumping up and down. Fantasy Labs tweeting how many players are available tonight for the Cavs. Sexton, Burks, Osman, Nance, Thompson, Clarkson, Jalen Jones, Blossom Game, Zizic, and Fry. I was right. They do have 10 guys. But they don't want to give appreciable minutes to Jones, Blossom Game, Fry, and really Zizic. So they have 6 guys they want to give time to. And those 6 guys are going to get 30 minutes in North. I would be really surprised if certainly Sexton, Burks, Osman, Thompson, and Clarkson didn't get 30 plus. Nance, I wouldn't be surprised if they, chained him to the wall in the locker room. They seem to dislike him so much. But certainly those 5 guys in a really, really sexy matchup all look very good to me. Your lineup should have a lot of Cavs and Nuggets in it tonight. So the rest of the next, I really like Enes Kanter. I think he is under-owned. I will again look at our DK projections for ownership. This is Enes Kanter at 7%. I'm really happy with him. Like I would have a significant amount. I obviously really like Jokic. That makes it sticky on FanDuel, where Kanter is priced even better. But on DK, I would really consider having Kanter, Jokic. Probably one of the places I want to start. Jokic is they both have some risk. Jokic can go sideways. There can still be a blowout in that game, very possibly. Either way, even. Like, Atlanta winning this game easily wouldn't shock me, and that's really saying something. There are just a lot of variables up in the air here, so this shit can go sideways. But both guys just project versus their prices to be absolute monsters. Bogdan starting, Bobby Portis out. All right, thank you. I appreciate you guys going all Jimmy Olsen for me. Makes the job much, much, much easier when I am hosting by myself. Not surprising, but good to know he's still out. And we previously had the news Dunn would be out as well. So maybe we see both those guys in the next game. They are close to making a return. As expected, Bogdan will fill in, which isn't good for him, by the way. I would rather not have had him. So don't run in. And we saw a lot of that yesterday where people just love, oh, this guy's starting, I have to play him. Amir Johnson yesterday. We were kind of making fun of people who were playing Amir Johnson. And there's times I'll play Amir Johnson, but going into the starting lineup was not a good thing. I would have been much more inclined to 3K Amir Johnson with Muscala starting than 3K Amir Johnson starting. One of many reasons I said play Kyle O'Quinn instead, and we saw how that worked. By the way, don't play Kyle O'Quinn now. Sabonis is in. Kyle O'Quinn will likely not touch the court. So if you had some vestigial Kyle O'Quinn shares in your lineups, make sure to expurgate them of that infection. Still talking about the Knicks here for a second. Moutier presses really, really well. And here again, blowout, you're in trouble. Fizdale fuckitude, you're in trouble. But just based on what you expect to see out of him, he's getting 30x minutes, several games in a row, has looked really good. The matchup is pristine. He's just priced too cheap. If he sees the amount of time he will most likely see, 75% chance game stays close and the coach sticks with his guns of his recent progression, he should cost $1,000 more than he does, especially on FanDuel. It's $5,800. Moutier is just too cheap, and he's not going to be that highly owned, and it doesn't feel great paying $5,800, but, points per dollar point guards. He might be in my top 2 on FanDuel. It really might go Jamal Murray, Moutier, and I really have to sit and think about it between those 2 guys. So, Moutier just too cheap for what he's been doing and what we expect. He should be good for, in a really good matchup, fantasy point a minute. I would think he would average somewhere around there, and he's... so, I would project him for 34 minutes, 34. Appreciate the Pokemon card in the background. Yeah, that's an oversized base set Pikachu. I owned a game store for a dozen years, so there are There's about 1 million of the small ones here, but yeah, I just put it up along with Lawrence Taylor over here. Just as people are like, you should put something in your background. I'm like, okay. All these sex toys would seem inappropriate, so we'll go with Lawrence Taylor and a Pikachu. Other guys on the Knicks, I still like Noah Vonleh. Again, too cheap on all the Knicks are entirely just too cheap on FanDuel. Moutier is the same price FanDuel and DraftKings. Canner is $100 cheaper. Vonleh is $200 cheaper. They all project really nicely at those prices. Again, I just like Vonleh basically as a player. If you think he is going to get 32 minutes against the Nets, he's just $1,500 too cheap. It can go sideways. He can get in foul trouble. There are lots of other exceptional. I have him projected almost exactly the same number of fantasy points as Trey Lyles, and Bam Adebayo is out there, so it's tough to find room. But if you find room, he's just too cheap. So those are the three guys I absolutely like on this. No, it's actually not true. I really like Tim Hardaway, too. I like 4 Knicks tonight. I just can't go well. I don't think I'm wanting to play more than one of these guys in a lineup. I really like Canner. Moutier's too cheap. This has been a really good spot for Hardaway. Both the games they played this year, the one that stayed close, the one that didn't, shot like 40% from the field in both those games. I think we had, I want to say 10 for 25 and 9 for 23 or something like that in the 2 games. I was reviewing this earlier today. I'm not remembering that from October and November. But was really good based on 40% shooting. Gave you 35, 45. And I'm not a huge fan of playing Tim Hardaway, but Nets, price down, ownership down, I don't mind him as a spend up here. So I really don't mind any of those 4 Knicks, which something's going to go horrifically wrong, and all 4 won't be good. But in tournaments, I would have a pretty decent smattering of Cantor, Vonleh, Hardaway, Moutier, and I would rank them Cantor, Moutier, Vonleh, Hardaway in order of attraction. Other guys on this team, Dotson is just too expensive with everything that's going on. He's 58 on FanDuel, 45 on DK. There's a lot of guys you can do better with 45 on DK at this point. Maybe 1 in 150 or something, but you'd have to want it. I'm not playing Hezonja. Alonzo Trier, still in the 3s, and there's definitely a chance if this game blows out, I do expect him to close it out, so that would probably be the next guy I would want to play, but I really like those guys. Brown is going to be like 70% on FanDuel and GPP. Is this a slate where raw points matter? It is. So when you're dealing with a slate like this where you have tons of guys who cost 3,800, 3,600, 4K, 55 for Bam, who just project to maul their prices, there's a point at which you just want to get as many fantasy points as possible. So if you have, if you project your top 3 guys, and we're talking FanDuel, and I have right now Jokic, Towns, and LeBron, it's hard for me not to play LeBron and Towns or LeBron and Jokic and fill in with exceptional point per dollar plays. That is the most logical construction to get the highest total lineup score. It's not, it's like when you're building a deck for Pokemon. It's not about playing the best cards, it's about building the best deck. And those don't mean the same thing. Alright, so that's enough time in the Knicks on the Nets. Frankly, I feel dirty. I have to. I'm here alone, and I've done a bad job at this. So you'll excuse me as I read a promo. By now, you know about our 24 days of giveaways. We're giving things away every day as our thanks from Osmo to you this holiday season. As we go, the prices will get better. The prizes will get better. And this week we're giving away a month free pass to any sport of your choosing or a piece of merchandise from our new store at shop.osmo.com. All you have to do is like this video right now and comment whatever you want to comment, and you're entered to win. So comment anything. Make it whimsical. Make it capricious. Make it sexy. But comment something on this video, and again, apparently the comments have to stick. So right now where you're writing, if you're on YouTube, would be the chat. The chat, she is no good. She is an inconstant woman. You have to wait for the video to close and then comment. So I'm giving you this and then saying in a half hour when I'm done. Don't forget to go back, because you could win, a free month of stuff, and that's not cheap. It's worth it, but that's not cheap. And an item from the shop. You get an entry for every show that you leave a comment on, and each entry counts towards our final giveaway on Christmas Eve, where we're giving away our grand prize of one all-access annual pass, a $700 value. It's actually like a $5,000 value, but we only charge you $700 for it because we're nice like that, to one randomly selected winner. So start now, like this video, and comment when we're done. Something, again, sexy. for your chance to win the 24 days of giveaways, our presents from you this holiday season. Our present from you. I just butchered that. You know what I'm not good at? Promos. I'm going to write my own promo next time containing all the useful information, but doing it in the voice of someone from the cast of Coming to America. Let's move on to another incredibly sexual game of the evening with the Wizards going into Cleveland. Again, John Wall will play. That's not good for a lot of things. He was apparently sick earlier today. He is had a child. Congratulations, John. Then traveled with the team, but was not feeling well earlier today, but will now apparently play. So that's going to make it a little less likely the Cavs keep it close. And it's obviously going to take away some of the value of all these other guys on the Wizards. I'm pretty sure off the top of my head, my favorite guy on the Wizards now is going to be John Wall, but give me a minute to take a look at this. Looking over my notes. So yeah, don't play Tomas Satoransky. Isn't going to actually handle the ball at all. He's only 43 on FanDuel, so there's almost acceptable, but you know, even with running the team last night, needed some really sexy steals and blocks and shooting 70% from the field to really get there. If John Wall plays, not likely. You can still play Tomas on FanDuel, I guess, because you can drop him. I'll take that back. I like him a lot. He's not as good point per dollar as pick, you know, Alec Burks or at point guard, Colin Sexton, etc. But you could have him in your tournament pool. John Wall only costs $500 more than Bradley Beal on either site now. Beal is certainly in play. He's playing the Cavs if the game stays close. This is an environment that is really nice for fantasy production. Now, it's not as good as playing, say, the Hawks or playing the Wizards because the Cavs play slow. They're one of the slower teams in the NBA this year because they don't really have anyone who can push the pace that well. That'll come up a little bit with, you know, Burke starting and stuff. It's still not as an ideal an environment, but I really like John Wall. You're going to get him really, should be fairly low owned. He's going to be like 4% owned against the Cavs, and he can get 17 assists and 6 steals and 13 points and put a random 65 burger. So at the ownership, on a night where, by the way, we're looking for less chalky spend-ups, because, you know, a lot of ownership on LeBron we were just talking about. So if you're playing on FanDuel and you're like, oh, I want to take these other two small forward plays, I want to play Bojan and whomever, spend up on Wall and Towns. You get a very unique lineup construction. There is a ceiling there. You can obviously play Beal, even at a price around $9,000. Might play 40 minutes. Playing 40 minutes against the Cavs does good things. Otto Porter with Wall back, a little less exciting for me, but certainly in play against the Cavs. Thomas Bryant, if you're punting center on FanDuel, may be your best option. I'll revisit that when we get a second. Again, on DK, feels like there's 17 more value plays you can do that are a little bit better. And I like Markieff. You know, we've seen some foul trouble recently, some other bullshit, but should be back into significant minutes. And accepting the last couple down games has been incredibly good off the bench. Multiple 40-plus fantasy point games. You could certainly see that again here. So I like him at what will be a well-reduced ownership. Less excited about Kelly Oubre with John Wall back, but still certainly carries an upside. The DK price of $4,800 is really nice. Gets to resume hopefully a bench role, which is best for his production. They probably start Wall, Beal, Satoransky, Porter at the 4, and Thomas Bryant. So Oubre still makes some sense in tournaments. Again, against the Cavs, we like that. At this point, we can do probably better than the Austin Rivers and Jeff Greens of the world. The Cavs, yeah, okay. So again, they have 10 dudes. So a lot of people are like, they have 7 dudes for today. I'm like, they have 9, 10, 11 dudes. They have 10 guys apparently addressing active, but again, there are really 6 they want to give minutes to. So Sexton, and really 5 they apparently want to give minutes to. Sexton, Osman, Tristan Thompson, Jordan Clarkson, Alec Burks. Burks is still good chalk for me. Playing the Cavs is better than, playing against the Wizards is better than playing against the Cavs. It's, again, a tremendously good spot. They're going to play Alec Burks, again, I think like 37 minutes. Could be even more. Just too good. People are tweeting lots of stuff at me. That usually means like news or stuff. Al Horford is a game time decision. Interesting. Baines is doubtful too, I believe. Might even be out. So be ready for some Daniel Tice. Certainly if Horford is out, Tice would become my favorite 3K and hopefully fill in that Kylo Quinn role from last night. Does Jamal Murray injury worry you? No, he's got a bruised forearm, so it's not even like at the joint, so it's not good. You're not like, sweet, he's got an injury, but it's sort of like Bagley's lower back last night. It's one of those things that would surprise me. But Horford being a game time makes some things interesting. We'll get to the Celtics and the Bulls in a second. So anyhow, I like Colin Sexton less than probably, after Nancy's my least favorite guy. I would rather play Clarkson. I would rather play Burks. I would rather play Osman. I would rather play Tristan Thompson before I played Colin Sexton. He just isn't good at basketball, and even given a butt ton of time, and he's going to get a butt ton of time, just the ceiling is limited because he does not get steals or blocks, not many rebounds, and for a point guard who plays 40 minutes, not many goddamn assists. So he's going to take 20 shots and play 38 minutes, but he's in there with, he's very similar to Jordan Clarkson. I still prefer Jordan Clarkson just because the ownership will be much less. But they profile pretty goddamn similarly. I'm going to take a lot of shots and not do fuck all else. I would rather play Cedi Osman, who will pull in some rebounds for you and occasionally get some defensive stats. I would rather play Alec Burks at a lot cheaper. I would rather play Tristan Thompson at almost certainly going to double-double, should pull in some significant value, actually carries a ceiling. And it's a night where, again, we're talking about raw points a lot, not just points per dollar. So, Colin Sexton has never had 40 fantasy points this year, and this would be his best possible shot to do so, and he's $4,900. So he's great, but if I'm building one lineup, he's my fifth cav in. Anything else I want to add about guys here? I think we pretty well covered it talking it through. We'll come back to it in questions if we missed anything. Again, it's a good thing I started the show early because we're 21 minutes out and 4 games to go, so I'm going to have to speed this up a little bit. I expect the Celtics to beat the shit out of the Bulls. They played earlier this year. Unsurprisingly, the Celtics beat the shit out of the Bulls. Again, the Bulls beat the Thunder yesterday, one of the two teams in the NBA I would have said are better defensively than the Celtics. So, okay, good looking out, Bulls. But Aaron Baines is, I believe, doubtful, and Al Horford is a game-time decision. This, again, as I mentioned before, another game where lots of guys make sense, but point per dollar are just less exciting. So I'm a fan of taking a guy from this game in tournaments. I don't really have a strong preference as to who, but the fact that Horford is now questionable if you have to make decisions right now, I'm a bigger fan of getting some of the other bigs out there. So Marcus Morris, I like a little bit more. Jason Tatum, I like a little bit more. He's expensive, but again, it's just raw points, not dollars. You can certainly get 45 out of him against the Bulls. And again, this game apparently could stay close. So Marcus Smart, 5,600 on FanDuel. Sure, it's FanDuel. He does steals and blocks, but 4,400 on DK objectively feels good with him starting. If it stays close, you think he gets close to 30 minutes. And of course, Kyrie Irving just is carrying a massive upside. $9,000 against the Bulls. I like a lot. I would probably in a tournament rather play Wall at this point for the perceived ownership, I'm guessing. But I have no issue with you spending up on Kyrie. That's it. I'm going to move on. It's got more to do with the blowout than anything else. None of the matchups look particularly sexy. They're all priced appropriately. And there's a lot of guys who are priced inappropriately tonight. That means that their price is too low. Not that the person who priced them was, say, wearing negligee at the time. Hart bounce back? A lot of you guys are asking about Josh Hart. I would infinitely rather play Alec Burks. I like Josh Hart's swagger. I like his style. I think he is objectively points per dollar a good play at $3,600, $3,700, who is going to play 35 plus minutes. But he's playing the Grizzlies. And yesterday I was doing everything I could to get off of that play. And I'm not that different today. I like him more today because he'll be lower owned. Yesterday it was going to be chalk, and I figured that would happen. But again, more of a FanDuel play. He's fine to play. I have no reason to expect a bounce back. He's moving into arguably the worst possible environment on the road against the Grizzlies. So if you want to play him on the road against the Grizzlies as opposed to Alec Burks at home against the Wizards, feel free. It's not right. But the ownership will be much, much better relative. So it is a pivot play. And I'm fine playing him in tournaments for that reason. The ownership's going to be 13% as opposed to 40%. And, I expect him to play minutes well into the 30s again. Brandon Ingram is still out. Knock yourself out and get yourself some of that. Let's go ahead and talk about the rest of that game since we segued into it. I like Jaren Jackson a lot in tournaments. Again, he's a power forward. That's a sticky spot in the world of Trey Lyles and Bam Adebayo and all this other shit. But do this game real quick because it's not an ideal environment. We talked a lot about LeBron James raw points. That makes sense. Josh Hart, I think, is just fine in tournaments because the ownership will have come down. But I actively disliked him yesterday. Today, I'm like, that's fine. I still think he plays in the mid-30s in minutes. Sure, he could get 30, 35. But again, especially on FanDuel, we're talking about this. You want guys with a real chance of getting upside. Josh Hart, much less of an upside play than a lot of these other guys we are talking about due to his lack of ability to pick up a lot of peripherals, the environment, and everything else. In one lineup, am I playing LeBron on DK? Let me look at the DK lineup I'm currently sitting on. Yes, he's in there. Do I want to talk about anyone else in here? I don't want to spend that much on Kuzma against the Grizzlies. You can do it in tournaments, obviously. Massive game last night. 22 shots last night. That all feels very good. Not wrong to play him, but just points per dollar. Again, I have him projected almost identically to Trey Lyles, who is literally half his price. Actually, just a touch more. No, he's actually less than half his price on FanDuel. Is Joakim Noah a good value play? He's probable. He would no longer be my favorite 3K play. That would be someone else we talked about earlier in the show. Fuck, I don't remember who. I'm really going to go look at everyone who costs 3K. Sure, we'll waste a minute on this. It's not Rodions Kurix, although he was in play at 3K. Noah, I think, would be my second favorite one. Who's my favorite 3K to get now? We had someone who was in play for me. It's not you. It's not you. That is really frustrating. I'm really looking for my own notification at this point. It's not Kyle O'Quinn anymore. He's been knocked out. It's not Kufis, but that's not crazy. This is some frustrating shit. It's certainly not J.R. Smith. It's not Blossom Game. It's Tice! Yes, then someone said it right at the same time. Yes, Daniel Tice would be my favorite 3K. So I would much rather go there than Joakim Noah. But Joakim Noah in play in tournaments. We can hope he plays 15, 16, 17 minutes again. Looked really good last night. Trey Lyles at 72% owned. Do you want more or less? I'm not making this a 100% play call because I don't do those frequently. I almost did it last night with Bam at 4K on DK. But if I was playing tonight, I would probably differentiate elsewhere and just play 100% Trey Lyles. I would probably just suck it down. Maybe not, but close though. I would be over that number. I would play north of 90% of Trey Lyles if I was building 150 lineups tonight. Yeah, so we got to get through here. So, yeah, this game is fugly. I like Jaren Jackson a lot in tournaments. I think I right now currently slightly prefer Montrezl Harrell, but it's very close for me on DK where they're 6,500, 6,300. If you have the $200 extra, I think I slightly prefer Montrezl Harrell with no Whiteside out there in that environment at what I think is even better ownership. So I think I prefer Montrezl, but I like Jaren Jackson a lot in tournaments, and you can absolutely do that. You can Jermichael Green on DK. You don't mind Garrett Temple in this spot where he's 42 and 37. That's perfectly doable in tournaments. You can certainly play Marcus All or Mike Conley. Let's move on to the last game. I think we've sort of obliquely covered this. There's two more games. Jesus Christ. Portland, and again, this is everyone's priced very appropriately, so I'm going to sort of speed through this. I like Towns the most on Minnesota. Has a very real chance of being the highest scoring player tonight. I have him slightly above LeBron, slightly behind Jokic. We're going to be well lower on than Jokic, so might even prefer him in tournaments. Feel free to play yourself some Towns. Moving on. Largely, again, you're just dealing with two very appropriately priced, not the best game environment, where over-under on this is somewhere between 215 and 220, if I recall correctly. And everyone's just priced fairly, and there's just a lot of unfairly priced guys tonight. So, in 150 lineups, I would have 3 Teague, 1 Wiggins, 6 Covington, 2 Taj, 1 Saric, 2 Rose, 25 Lillard. When we look around there tonight, he's just, again, has a real chance of being the highest scoring guy tonight. I think I have him 4th on the list, raw projections. 6 or 7 McCollum, 3 or 4 on DK Maurice Harkless, 5 or 6 Al-Farouq Aminu at 4,600 on DK. That is a number you can really get on top of. Nurkic has been fine in this spot as far as production per minute, but has seen pretty limited minutes. You go back and look at the time that Stotts has given him against Towns. Towns does drag him outside a lot, and so we've gotten a lot of 19, 21, 23-minute spots out of Nurkic here. So I am well more inclined towards Enes Kanter. It's still Yusuf Nurkic. He's still incredibly productive. It's still a very good matchup as Towns' defense on the interior still leaves a lot to be desired, but going to come in, fourth for me after... at best, is going to come in fourth for me. Probably fifth. He's probably behind Tristan Thompson. So he's going to be behind Tristan Thompson, behind Kanter, behind Jokic, behind Towns. I like Evan Turner a lot. Still, he's back. McCollum is back, so not going to be a super chalky guy, but he still holds a pretty decent floor because of his role and can pick up an upside with stuff at 46 and 43, so I wouldn't mind some exposure there. Final game, Miami and the Clips. Bam Adebayo is a massive stud. This matchup is an absolutely fine one for him, even at 5,500. He's way too cheap. In expected role in minutes, he should cost $7,200, so it's not as stupid as $4,000 Bam, but still pretty stupid. Feel free to get away from it. I slightly prefer Trey Lyles if you're making that choice. I think that's a slightly more stupid point per dollar play, and both should be chalky as fuck. I'm a big fan. Murray, and do you prefer him or Fox in cash? I prefer Murray in cash. They are starting Lyles at the 4, so yeah, just get up on top of that. Did I give a reason for fading Bazemore? I didn't say, are people like looking at the chat and not listening to me? That always terrifies me. I didn't say I want to fade Bazemore. I had listed the most popular plays at the start of the show and said, the guys I'd be at all interested in fading, the guys who I would not be over the field on or be even with the field, I would be under the field on Bazemore because he's going to be really popular. He's going to be whatever 40% owned. I can see it not working out. He's objectively points per dollar, a great play. I'm not saying don't play him. I'm saying of the super valuable guys, super popular guys, that's the first one I'm looking to come in under on. So again, let me please recontextualize that. Justice Winslow is still good in tournaments. James Johnson on the back-to-back. I will probably pass tonight in the world of Trey Lyles. Bam, we already talked about plenty. You can still play Dwayne Wade in tournaments. Was wretched last night, but didn't see a lot of time. You can still play Kelly Olynyk in tournaments. I actually like him a fair bit in this spot. And going to be under-owned after not being that amazing last time. J. Rich I like a lot, and he's going to go under-owned. 6,900, 6,700. No Dragic, no Whiteside. It's his team. He's running this team. We like the matchup. We like the individual defensive matchup. If they throw, I don't know, Gallinari on him, yeah, he can get some work done there. So I like that quite a bit. In tournaments, my favorite Clipper is probably Montrezl. Not the best matchup for them. Heat playing faster than I expected them to for a lot this year. But again, a very good defensive team with a number of good defenders. And this team is, again, just priced fairly when a lot of guys are being priced unfairly. So if I were to rank these guys at their DraftKings prices, how much I like them in tournaments, it's probably Montrezl, Shea, Harris, Lou, Avery, in that order. Lou Avery, that's the character from Mad Men. Yeah, but again, I have not a ton of interest in this here late night hammer on the Clip side of things. But again, yeah, Adebayo, much guy to target here. So for me on the Heat, it'd be Adebayo, Richardson, Winslow, Olynyk. Would be how I'd rank those guys. Conley or Wall for all the marbles. I'm gonna go with John Wall. Besides Jokic, which top option will you be spending up for with the extra money? Again, I am fine with spending up for LeBron. I'm fine with spending up for Towns. I'm fine with spending up for Lillard. I am fine with spending up for Wall. I am fine with spending up for Irving. I like them all. It really depends on correlations. I'm fine with spending up for Beal when you're looking at the guys who cost $9K plus. So, yeah, I like spending up for Kanter. I guess we'll call that a spend up. But I like Wall a lot in tournaments. But again, you know, if you look at their point projections, I have LeBron a bit over 50, Towns a bit over 50. I have Jokic all the way up at 55, which is what I think his median is here. I think you get some 40s. I think you get some 75s. Yeah. Towns, Vonleh, Clarkson, or Cantor, Richardson, Laurie, DK, GPP. I like both those a lot, but I'll go with Cantor, Richardson, Laurie. But that's really close for me. Let me look at other things and see if we have any news we need to update. That looks fine. That looks fine. TweetDeck looks fine. All right, 7 minutes left. Hey, you know what? It's a good thing I put in the extra time. Came on like 15 minutes early. That should certainly help. So, yeah. Sorry, just looking around at stuff. I'm going to handle questions the rest of the show. I just want to make sure I'm not skipping anything too delicious here. That works fine. I'm setting my season-long team. Sorry, I realized I hadn't done it. I took a minute for myself. I'm a bad host for a minute. But I gave a dozen extra. I get to take one back. All right, so you should have LeBron, Jokic, or Towns in your lines as a must. No, I can think of good lines that don't have them in there. I think I can build a perfectly equitable line that plays Lillard, Richardson, Harrell, another good 7-8K guy, Cantor, plus value. So, no, that is not a must to me, because while I project all those guys for 50-55, there's lots of guys I project for 42 to 48 who cost less, and you can get 5 of those guys as opposed to 3 of those guys getting 50. So, is Whiteside out? Yes. Who played in front of their mother yesterday? Oh, who's the guy who played in front of their mom? Someone played in front of their mom after a time in she'd been in prison for some whatever years. Bojan or Hernan Gomez for FanDuel Cash. Cash, I have to go with Hernan Gomez. Bojan is a very strong tournament pivot off a very popular Juanchu. Lyles and Jokic and a FanDuel GPP together, fine. Of course it's fine. Having a $3,500 guy next to whomever will never not be fine. It's completely irrelevant. It has nothing to do with anything. Just don't ever worry about it. Guy under really 5K, it really, really doesn't matter. Murray and Jokic is a question, and I still think that's fine. But it's almost irrelevant whether you play Murray and Jokic or Murray, Jokic, Morris, and Lyles. Really barely changes anything. Towns, Vonleh, and Clarkson, or Cantor, Richardson, and Laurie. We already did that. Winslow or Turner in a DK GPP. I will go with Turner. Torrey Craig. Torrey Craig, my 8th most favorite play on the Nuggets, and I like him a lot. You should absolutely consider playing some Torrey Craig. Find a way to mix him into your lineups. I like the other guys better. He is a less effective fantasy player, but just we'll see a metric butt ton of minutes against a truly terrible Hawks team. So yes, I love Torrey Craig, and he's my 7th favorite guy on his team tonight. So try to get that. DK Cash 4K guard spot. Alec Burks is 4,100 or 4K. He's 39. Alec Burks. You already have Alec Burks. You got to give me again after that. Torrey Craig was 0 for 5 from the field in that game. Yep. He's not good, but again, that game was not against the Hawks. Thoughts on Monty Morris? I like him a lot. I'm a big fan of Monty Morris. I think I had him ranked as the... I think he is sitting in the... No, he actually got bounced. But he was sitting in my DK lineup most of the day. I like playing him more than Malik Beasley in tournaments. Kyrie or Wall, FanDuel GPP. I would play Wall for the ownership. Flipping over to YouTube. 987 missed comments. Is that all? Let's bring this down to the bottom. Here we go. Tyson Bazemore, Adebayo, and KCP and FanDuel Cash. Oh, God, I don't know why you'd be playing Tice or KCP in Cash. Play Adebayo and Hart in Cash, not Adebayo and KCP. Lillard and Hernan Gomez or Murray and Jay Rich, FanDuel Cash. Murray and Jay Rich for me. Carter Jr. if Horford is out. Carter Jr. either way is at his price. It's not like if Horford is out, he gets a much better spot. But Carter Jr. is just fine in tournaments anyway. Triple J's against the Lake Show. I like it a lot. I think I slightly prefer Montrez at this point, but those are strong spend-ups that I really enjoy it at good ownership and a median price tonight. So I like a lot of those guys. There's so much good value. Again, you were going to get massive ownership on guys who cost 9 to 10K. So strong plays in the 7s are going to be proportionally under-owned for where they should be based on their inherent value. Hart or Craig? I would play Craig. I would not play Torrey Craig's mom. Wancho or Winslow? Wancho and cash, Winslow in tournaments. Covington and Gallinari or Otto and Richardson? I'd play Otto and Richardson. Hernan Gomez with Fox or Bojan and Murray in a FanDuel GPP. I would play Bojan and Murray in a GPP. Just stack the Joker and Cantor and watch the cash come in. That's kind of where I started on DraftKings. They both are plays that come with some risk, but just massive upsides versus the price. If you play this slate out 100 times, 25 of them you get 50 out of Cantor and 70 out of Jokic. Like, that's not an uncommon occurrence, and having them both is going to be a key to go a long way, so I like that a lot. J. Mike in play. J. Mike. J. Mike. J. Mike. Send me back with who J. Mike is. For some reason, that shorthand is not... Beasley is out, but that's not the Mike you're talking about. Let me know who you're referring to there. Best value shooting guard. Alec Burks. That was an easy one. Hernan Gomez and Fox or Murray with Bojan, FanDuel GPP again. Murray and Bojan. Craig or Cameron Payne on FanDuel. Craig and cash, absolutely. Cam Payne is in playing tournaments as a punt guy. If that game blows out, that's not crazy. Why hasn't Cantor been closing? Blowout. In his last 4 games, it's a blowout. Giannis was the 5 on the opposing team, so there was no one he could possibly guard. And what's the 4th game? It's Philly, Boston, Milwaukee. I don't know, but shit that had nothing to do with minutes. If he gets going and plays well and the game stays close, he'll close. He'll guard Jared Allen or Ed Davis or Rondé or whomever the hell they have out there. JaMychal Green I like in tournaments just fine. Obviously more on DK for the price, but can certainly... you need Jaren to get in foul trouble, but that's not in any way an impossibility. Back to the premium chat. Why isn't Cameron closing? Tell you. I told you. That's why. JaMychal Green is in play. That's what you meant by J. Mike. Yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, we're good. FanDuel small forward not named LeBron. Bojan. Excuse me. We'll go with Bojan. Bojan or Oubre FanDuel tourney. I would prefer Bojan at this point, but Sabonis is in, so it gets very, very close for me. Cantor supposedly changed his style and would get the most run. I don't know what that means, but he's been getting plenty of run. Again, blowouts in situations he can't possibly guard. And I've been yelling this whole year for them to start Cantor, dear Jesus. And they finally did it. Lock in 3. Lyles or Vonla? Lyles is a better point per dollar play. I like both those plays a lot. Lyles is a better cash play. Vonla a better tournament play because he's going to be 17% owned and not 70. We are locked. What are the projected minutes for Tice if Horford is out? Like, Baines is going to be out too, so I gotta figure if there's going to be a blowout or not. He wouldn't start. I'll say 21. But enough that at 3K you're feeling good about it in a good matchup. Levine 6.4. Yeah, a lot of people, like, I didn't even mention Levine. That should tell you what I think of him. I was told someone earlier today on this channel, I don't know whom, was a big fan of Zach LaVine. All I have is the other guys liked Zach LaVine. I don't like Zach LaVine at all. I don't think I'd play Zach LaVine. I need Zach LaVine with Lauri Markkanen back in to, like, go off against the Bulls. And, you know, he was too cheap for a while, but then he was too expensive for a while. Like, he was up to the mid-8s. Now he's 7,600, I think, is his best price on DK. I don't want that. Like, what am I looking for in a tournament? What am I looking for to get out of him at 76 where I'm like, sweet, I'm so glad I had him? We'll say 50. When's the last time Zach LaVine had 50? It's at least a couple weeks. And so I'm going to be like, yeah, I think he randomly nuts it out against the Celtics, who, by the way, crushed the Bulls and made everyone on the team shit earlier this year. Like, it's not out of play, obviously, but I'm not, like, a fan of playing Zach LaVine. So if someone was like, yeah, I really like Zach LaVine tonight, I solidly disagree with that take. It does not seem to be sexy for me. He's not doo-doo. I like Zach LaVine a lot. But now you've got, I mean, those other guys were out or he'd be wretchedly out of play. But, you know, Markkanen's taking, 15, 18 shots a game. A lot of those come from Zach LaVine. And Celtics, that's not pace. That's not, like, excellent defenders, and the guy just, I don't know. I don't want $7,600 Zach LaVine, so I would say we shall see, but regardless as to what happens in one game, we won't know. But like even in tournaments, I would have decidedly little interest in that. Let's look at some, to be fair, very limited ownership in the 350K Big Jam. If I can get this to load up. I don't think a lot of guys owned in this game. We will see. How do you not love some Buddy Love, Pat Williams? The character from, you're talking about Buddy Hield. Yeah, I probably like him a little. I like him. I like Tim Hardaway a little more. I also like Alec Burks about a ton more. But I like Hield just fine. Again, I'd rather play some Pacers. But oh boy, some sexy ownership. The highest owned guy on the slate for the 7 p.m. game is Buddy Hield, 8%. Oh, congratulations, you played yourself. What do we have? Pacers and Kings only. Has to be Oladipo or Shumpert. So I don't know if we'll get there. We'll see. Bojan, 7.2. Sure. Bogdan, 7.04. God, it's a battle of the Bogdanoviches. I don't know how I didn't quite put that together until just now. De'Aaron Fox, 7%. That feels objectively good. He's just really made a jump in his second year. I like that. Miles Turner, 6.7%. I'm still fine with that. 6.4 K or 6.8, I think he is on DK. Still reasonable. Tyreek, 3.5. Darren Collison, excuse me, I skipped 6%. I like that. Daddy likes 6%, Darren Collison. Sabonis, 3%. Daddy likes that a lot. Marvin Bagley, 2.72. Daddy likes that a lot. Cauley Stein, 2% at $5,900. Daddy likes that a lot. Thad Young, 1.75%. Daddy likes that a lot. Kyle O'Quinn, 1.26%. Probably won't play, so thank you guys for paying a tenth of the rake for us. Kojo, 0.8, that's fine. Nemanja, 0.7. Aaron Holiday, 0.5. Probably won't play unless there's a blowout. Maybe. Doug McDermott, 0.15. Doug McDermott is never the answer. Harry Giles, 0.09. Justin Jackson, 0.09. Costa Koufos, 0.02. Iman Shumpert, 0.01. Congratulations. You played yourself. Also, shout out Victor Oladipo, a single share rounding down to 0.00. But you also played yourself. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for those of you who were kind enough to populate my Periscope earlier today and feed me softball questions and let me do movie impressions half the time. That was greatly enjoyable. I will be back again tomorrow when we see what wonderful slates FanDuel and DraftKings have laid out for us and how they slot in with time. But it's a shorter slate, so less work for me. Thankfully, I'll be hanging around in the premium Slack chat at awesemo.com for some additional period of time to help with the late slates, of which there are a few tonight, and talk about the 7:30 ownership when it rolls in, having those massive Washington, Cleveland, Denver, and Atlanta ownerships. With that, it is a pleasure as always. I am Fast Eddie Fear. Thanks again, and I will see you all tomorrow.